Okay, here in last session, I think before few weeks back, okay, few weeks back, I discussed some important main concepts related to audit, okay, using this material. Okay, so let's see which type of questions have been asked in those areas in previous 2 years past papers. Okay, here I have put the 2019 first semester exam paper question number 1. Okay, this paper consists auditing and taxation. More in most cases, 3 questions from auditing and 3 questions from taxation. You can see the more normally the first 3 questions are from auditing. So here in most of the cases, first question is evaluation your knowledge regarding the basic concepts of auditing. That means simply the things which we discussed under this material. Okay, let's see. 2019 first semester exam question number 1. Auditor always expresses his opinion with a reasonable assurance because of there are inherent limitations of the audit. What do you mean by reasonable assurance? What are the limitations of an audit? So, what do you mean by reasonable assurance? Anyone? I discussed last. Do you remember in last session, I told to you, auditor cannot tell, even though he or she, the auditor as an independent person, failed to identify any fraud or error within particular financial statements. Okay. Auditor cannot tell those financial statements are having 100% true and fair view. ඒ කියන්නේ විගණකයාට කියන්න බෑ 100%ක්ම අපිට වැරදි වංචා මොකුත්ම අහුන් නැතත් 100%ක් හරි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් විගණකයා සහතික වීමක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ 100%ක්. ඒ මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන නිවැරදි කියලා. විගණකයා reasonable assurance එකක් දෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මතයට අනුව මගේ පරීක්ෂණයට අනුව best of my knowledge එහෙම කරලා limit කරනවා. මගේ පරීක්ෂාවට අනුව එහෙම කරලා මතය ප්‍රකාශ කරනකොට limit කරනවා. Why? I told to you. Let's say an auditor cannot obtain absolute assurance. ඒ කියන්නේ 100% assurance එක. Because there are inherent limitations in an audit that affect the auditor's ability to detect material misstatements. Because of the inherent limitations of the audit. What are those inherent limitations? What are those? Normally in an audit, auditor is not checking all the evidence for particular events or transactions. He or she just selecting some samples. So as auditor is using those testings, auditor didn't check all the evidences, so auditor cannot give absolute assurance. Then there can be inherent limitations of internal controls. Internal controls. මොනවද මම කිව්වා මොකද්ද fingerprint එක තියලා කඩේට ගිහිල්ලා බඩු ටික අරගෙන ආයෙ ඇවිල්ලා fingerprint එක තියලා ගෙදර යනවා report එක ගත්තාම ඒ report එකෙන් පෙන්නන්නේ මොකක්ද report එකෙන් පෙන්නන්නේ මෙයා මේකේ වැඩ කරා කියලා කඩේ ගියපු එක වාර්තා වෙන්නේ another reason I told you what is that auditor is a human so there is a huge possibility to happen in human errors next one is the fact that most of audit evidences are persuasive rather than conclusive ගනුදෙනුවක් සිද්ධ වුණා කියලා පෙන්නනවා ඒක හරියට නිශ්චිතවම අපිට ඒ ගැන අදහසක් ගන්න බෑ audit evidence එක තුලින් මම අර කිව්වා වගේ generate කරන report එක බැලුවහම අපිට පේන්නේ හරි මෙයා ඇඟිල්ල තියලා තියෙනවා fingerprint එක තියලා තියෙනවා එහෙනම් මෙයා ආවා කියලා හරි හිටියාමද කියලා අපිට හොයාගන්න බෑ so because of these reasons auditor is cannot the auditor is not in a position to provide an absolute assurance second question what are the objectives of audit engagement letter still we didn't discuss that part mostly in next class we may third one auditor is the person who should protect ethical principles in his profession what are the ethical principles of an audit I discussed ethical principles what are those these are the things ethical principles independence මම පැහැදිලි කරා එයාගේ මහත්තයා හරි නෝන හරි ඉන්නවා නම් ඩිරෙක්ටර් බෝඩ් එකේ කොහොමද ඉන්ඩිපෙන්ඩන්සිය මේන්ටේන් කරගන්නේ එහෙනම් ඒ ඔඩිට් එන්ගේජ්මන්ට් එකේ අදාළ පුද්ගලයා ඉන්න බෑ දැන් මම යනකොට ඔඩිටර් කෙනෙක් විදියට කම්පැනි එකට ඒ කම්පැනියේ ඩිරෙක්ටර් බෝඩ් එකේ මගේ වයිෆ් ඉන්නවා නම් එහෙනම් ඒ වගේ වෙලාවට මට බෑ ඒ කම්පැනියේ ඔඩිටර් කෙනෙක් වෙන්න ඒක ethical principles a professional accountant in public practice who provides an assurance service is required to be independent of the assurance client. Client gen nidahas පුද්ගලයෙක් විය යුතුයි. Integrity. A professional accountant should be straightforward, honest, and all professional and business relationships. Objectivity. I am not going to discuss these things. Professional competence and due care. Confidentiality. Professional behavior those are the ethical principles දැන් ඔයාලා මේ ප්‍රශ්න බලනකොට දැන් අවුරුදු දෙකේම කතා කරනකොට අනිවාර්යෙන් එන ටිකක් තියෙනවා ඒ ටික බලාගත්තාම එතනින්ම සමහරවිට පාස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් now audit planning is preliminary activity of an audit write three benefits of audit plan of the plan in the audit what are the matters to be considered developing an audit plan just discussed okay so this is these 4 questions for 20 marks then 2018 question number 1.1 let's see an audit is a systematic and independent examination of books accounts statutory records documents and vouchers of an organization to ascertain how far the financial statements as well as non-financial disclosures present true and fair view of concern. Why do organizations need an audit? A audit ඕනේ organization එකට. දැන් ඇදෙන්න ඕනේ. මනමාලයාගේ ගෙදර යනවා. වැරදුනා. මනමාලිගේ ගෙදර යනවා. මනමාලයාගේ පවුලේ කට්ටිය. මම කිව්වා විස්තර අහන්න බෑ මනමාලිගේ කියලා. ඒ ගෙදර කට්ටියගෙම්ම එහෙනම් මතක් වෙන්න ඕනේ මේකට උත්තරේ. Demand for auditing. Why do organizations request an audit? Here I have put it allows contracting to take place in an agency relationship. As we discussed in the last session, simply the main reason for this demand for audit is conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. Here, board of directors or management are preparing financial statements. They are providing for the stakeholders. But here, these management are getting salaries from this business. Getting more salary should be their interest. The shareholders are the owners. Earning more profit is their interest. The interests are going in two ways. So there can be a conflict of interest can be happen. So these shareholders are not having that confidentiality to accept these financial statements. Then what is they are doing? They are appointing independent parties as auditors, then ask them to provide an opinion regarding those financial statements. When if the auditor is saying yes, these financial statements are having true and fair view, then the shareholders' confidence level on these financial statements will be increased. That is the first. So simply you can say why we need an audit. Simply in case of agency relationship, there is the possibility to having conflict of interest. Okay, if you can tell these things in your words. In advanced auditing we are considering about the technical terms. Hari මේකෙදි ඉංග්‍රීසි අමාරුයි. මම කතා කරද්දිත් මම proper ඉංග්‍රීසි එන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් ඔයාලා අදහස තියෙනවා නම් අදහස ඔළුවේ තියාගෙන ඔයාලගේ භාෂාවෙන් උත්සාහ කරන්න ලියන්න. හරි. Then when it's become after training, you may associate with these words, then it may easy to write the next year exam under advanced audit. Okay, let's move to the next question. We discussed second one. People should be accountable to a code of ethics when they become professionals. What are the ethical principles which should be followed by an auditor? Briefly explain them. Ethical principles. Again asking. Then මම කියපු දේ ඔයාලට තේරෙන්නේ හැමදාම මේ points. Okay. Then why can't auditor provide absolute level of assurance in an audit engagement? So same thing asking in different way, because those are the principles. In the subject of principles of auditing, we cannot ask much more things. Just simple terms available, all those things should be asked. So you should have that simple knowledge. That's all. අර මගේ පළවෙනි material එක බලන් ගියා නම් ලකුණු 20ක් 30ක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. පේනවද? Then the responsibility of preparing and fairly presenting financial statements in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework rests with management of the entity. Then what do you mean by applicable financial reporting framework? It's very simple. අපි accounts set එක හදනකොට මොනවද reporting framework එක එන්නේ? Generally accepted accounting principles and accounting standards. On the other side, sometimes sometimes you may have to use company act. So that is the applicable financial reporting framework. Then next one. The objective of the auditor is to plan and perform the audit. Wait, let's see whether it is available. Applicable financial reporting framework. See. Applicable financial reporting framework. Requirements of accounting standards, laws and regulations applicable to the entity that determine form and content of financial statements. If you have write down that answer, that means generally accepted accounting principles and the company act, then accounting standards, then also you can get the answer. This is the broad view, that is the wide view. The next question. Question number 2.1, 2018 first semester. The objective of the auditor is to plan and perform the audit to obtain appropriate audit evidence that is sufficient to the audit opinion expressed in auditor's report. Explain the meaning of sufficiency and appropriateness of audit evidences. I discussed that one also. Sufficiency and appropriateness. Simply, when it's become audit evidences, it should be quality and quantity. Okay. Sufficiency in the sense we should have enough quantity of audit evidences. When it's become appropriateness, those audit evidences should be with quality. Let's see. Yes, information audit evidences, information used by the auditor in arriving at conclusions on which auditor's opinions is based. Sufficiency of audit evidences is measured the quantity of audit evidences. Appropriateness of audit evidences is the measure of quality of audit evidences. If you write these 2 points, you can add 3 marks. Right? ගොඩාක් ලියන්න ඕනේ නැහැ audit වලදී. Point up to the point. Okay, so I think that's enough for today. Some materials, so many materials available in the LMS. I will discuss some points from those materials. Some significant, most significant points will be discussed in weekly basis by taking a 1 hour. At the same time, I will discuss past paper questions related to those points as I did today. මම අද කරා වගේ. දැන් එතකොට අපිට දැන් අපි ඔඩිට් ප්ලෑන් ඉන් දැන් පළවෙනි ප්‍රශ්නෙට ඔයාලට උත්තර ලියන්න පුළුවන්. මේක මතක තියාගන්න. පළවෙනි ප්‍රශ්නෙට දැන් උත්තර ලියන්න පුළුවන්. ලකුණු 20ක් earn කරන්න. විශේෂයෙන් අපි කලින් කතා කරපු මේ මැටීරියල් එක පාවිච්චි කරොත් ඔයාලට ලකුණු 20ක් earn කරන්න පුළුවන් ලේසියෙන්. හරි. examination point of view. මේ නමුත් මේ concept සංගට දාගන්න ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රි එකට ගියාම මේවා ඉතාමත් වැදගත් වෙන නිසා. හරි. If you have any doubts, you can ask anytime. Okay. The next class I will discuss past paper questions in related to the audit planning and engagement letter. Okay, I will discuss the engagement letter part. Most probably I will discuss engagement letter part, acceptance of an engagement and engagement letter part I will discuss. I am not having idea to discuss about company auditor, those things. ඒවා ආයි කතා කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. අර මැටීරියල් එක බලුවහම ඔයාලට තේරෙනවා. ඒවා මම අමුතුවෙන් කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. මේ පැය ඇතුළත අපි අමාරු points අරගෙන simply ඒවා discuss කරමු. Hope you have got something from this session. Then thank you very much. If you have any doubts, you can ask.